Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, today we will learn the development of the placenta. Placenta is a feto-maternal organ where the exchange of takes place between the mother and the embryo or the fetus, and it consists of two parts, the fetal part and the maternal parts. The nutrients and the oxygen goes from the mother to the embryo or the fetus, and the waste products and the carbon dioxide goes from the fetal blood to the we must have some knowledge of the wall of the uterus where the implantation takes place and later on development of the placenta takes place. The human uterine wall is consist of three layers. Innermost is the mucous membrane layer, which is called the endometrium. Deep to that is a thick muscular layer, which is called the myometrium, and outer to that is the serosal layer. And when the implantation of the blastocyst takes place, the endometrium where the implantation actually takes place is now called the decidua, because under the effects of the progesterone, changes occurs in the cells of the endometrium and they accumulate and glycogen and they swollen up and become polyhedrals. And when some of them are degenerating due to the syncytioblast penetration, the released glycogen and lipid provides nutrition, and it also provides immunity. We divide the decidua into three parts. The part which is lying deep to the implanting embryo and where the maximum growth of the placenta takes place is called the decidua basalis. This number 3 is the decidua basalis. And the part of the decidua which covers the peripheral part of the embryo or the fetus is called the decidua capsularis, number 2 in this diagram. And the part of the decidua which lies the opposite wall of the uterus is called the decidua parietalis. And this blackish one area is actually the cavity of the uterus. The meaning of the placenta is literally a cake, and the name is given due to its shape. It has a flat discoid appearance when the placenta is recently shed after the parturition. The placenta consists of two parts, the fetal part and the maternal part. The fetal part is formed by the chorion frondosum. Chorion frondosum is that part of the chorion sac where the maximum development of the chorionic villi takes place. The chorionic frondosum consists of the chorionic plate and the number of villi of all these three stages, primary and secondary and this tertiary one, that takes place. Chorionic plate consists of three layers from inner to outer world. These are the somatic. This red one layer is the somatic layer of the extraembryonic mesoderm. The other one is the splanchnic layer which covers the yolk sac. And these two layers are formed by the splitting of the extraembryonic mesoderm during the formation of the chorionic cavity. So the innermost layer of the chorionic plate is the somatic layer of the extraembryonic mesoderm. Outer to that is that greenish layer of the cell which is called the cytotrophoblast, and still outer to that the grayish layer which is called the syncytioblast, in which the lacunae have developed, which are now filled with the maternal blood. So these three layers constitute the chorion, and during the development of the placenta they form the chorionic plate, and in that the villi develops. Villi actually are the finger-like processes of the cytotrophoblast which move outwards into the sensitotrophoblast layer. And according to the structure, depending upon the structure of those developing villi, they are labeled as primary, secondary and the tertiary villi. What is chorion? Chorion is one of the membranes of the embryo or the fetus. The other one is the amnion, yolk sac and the allantois. Now the chorion, I have told you, is made up of the somatic layer of the extraembryonic mesoderm, cytotrophoblast, and the grayish one layer is the sensitotrophoblast. And these three layers are collectively called the chorion. And then the finger-like projections of the cytotrophoblast outwards into the sensitotrophoblast form the chorionic villi all over the chorionic sac initially. And if we consider the structure of the villi, we will label them as primary, secondary and the tertiary. When there is only the projection of the cytotrophoblast into the sensitotrophoblast, the highlight diagram is like this. This is the projection of the cytotrophoblast into the sensitotrophoblast. This is the sensitotrophoblast layer and this is the column of the cell in a finger-like projection into the sensitotrophoblast. This is called the primary villi. And when we take the cross-section of this particular structure of the primary villi, we see is at a central core of the cells formed by the cytotrophoblast, and outer to that is the sensitotrophoblast. And during the third week, this extraembryonic mesoderm also start to follow the initially developing primary villi, and they form the core of the developing villi. And when we will take the cross section of those secondary villi, we will see as a central core forming by the mesoderm. Outer to that is the cytotrophoblast layer, and still outer to that is the sensitotrophoblast layer. And during the last part of the third week, the blood vessels also start to form in the core of the developing villi from the mesenchyme. So now if we take the cross section of those particular villi, we will see that central part is occupied by the developing or the developed capillaries. These are the fetal capillaries, and then outer to that is the extraembryonic mesoderm, still outer to that is the cytotrophoblast, and still outer to that is the sensitotrophoblast layer. So now the tertiary villi is composed of four structures from inner to outward: the fetal capillaries in the core of the tertiary villi, mesoderm, cytotrophoblast, and the sensitotrophoblast. Initially, villi develop all over the circumference of the chorionic sac, but as the development takes place and there is a stretching of the decidua capsularis over the peripheral part of the developing embryo or the fetus, there is a compression of the blood vessels of that particular part of the villi, causing their occlusion and ultimately leading to the degeneration of the villi there under the decidua capsularis. So leaving the smooth part of the chorion there, and that smooth part of the chorion where the villi initially definitely have formed but later on degenerated, that part is called the chorion labii. But on the opposite side, adjacent to the decidua basalis, the development of the villi goes on at a rapid speed and they reach up to the decidual plate. And also the side branches takes place from those anchoring villi, which are called the free villi, and they are floating in the intervillous space filled with the blood. And that part of the chorionic sac where the maximum development and the growth of the villi takes place is called the chorion frondosum. So villous rich chorion where the villi give the appearance of the bushy, like that is called the chorion frondosum, and that actually forms a fetal part of the initially forming the chorionic villi. They don't show the side branches, rather they go on developing straight outwards towards the decidua, and that adjacent part of the decidua is called the decidual plate. So any villi which extends from the chorionic plate up to the decidual place is called the stem or the anchoring villi, and it is later on when the side branches sprout out from those anchoring villi and they start to float freely in the intervillous space, and these are called the free villi or the floating villi. Dear students, outermost covering of the villi is the sensitive trophoblast, but in the anchoring villi, the cytotrophoblast start to pierce the tip of the anchoring villi. They come out and start to grow sideways like this manner. The growth of the cytotrophoblast, this greenish layer sidewise, and they join with the similar developing sideways development of the cytotrophoblast from the adjacent anchoring villi. So they form an outer covering of the cytotrophoblast which is very adjacent to the decidual plate. And this is the decidual plate, area of the decidual plate, and this is the cytotrophoblastic shell. At the same time, the sensitive trophoblasts also start to penetrate more and more into the decidua, and they also cause disruption of the wall of the endometrial capillaries present in the decidua and start leaking of the blood from those disrupting endometrial capillaries, and that blood start to fill the intervillous space through the perforations in the cytotrophoblastic shell. And those sensitive trophoblasts, some of them get incorporated into the decidua and they form the hybrid vessels, and those vessels make contact with the intervillous space, I have already told you, through the perforations in the cytotrophoblastic cell, and that leads to the hybrid vessel formation, and the pouring of the blood starts the bathing of the intervillous space by the maternal blood. Now the maternal part of the placenta, I have already told you, it is formed by the decidua basalis. It is the part of the endometrium which have changed now due to the progesterone effect, and the part of the decidua basalis which is adjacent to the developing chorion, and here the it has a bushy appearance and is called the chorion frondosum. So the part of the desio basalis which is bounding the chorion frondosum, this area is called the decidual plate, and the opposite side of that decidua, which in addition to the having the decidual and the trophoblastic cells, they also have a amorphous material called the fibrinoid, and that is called the junctional zone. This dark area is the junctional zone and this light area is the decidual plate. The decidua at some regular intervals send out septa towards the chorion frondosum and divide the chorion frondosum into different compartments. These are called the placental septa. These are the projections of the decidua towards the chorionic plate and dividing the placenta into different compartments, this one compartment and then the adjacent one also. And every that compartment, which is called the cotyledons, contains at least 2 or more stem villi. Stem villi are those villi which extend from the chorionic plate up to the, this is extending, this is reaching, and this is now reaching up to the decidual plate. And look at the adjacent villi. This is also start to extend from the definitely chorionic plate. It is going, but here it is now obstructed by the lacunae. So it does not reaching the decidual plate. So it is by definition not the anchoring villi. It is the anchoring villi. So in this cotyledon, this one is the anchoring villi, and if we look at the adjacent, this is also starting from the chorionic plate and going to the decidual plate. So it is also the stem villi. The red one areas are all the intervillous space which are formed due by the coalescence of the lacunae. Many lacunae join with one another to form a large comparatively space which is called the intervillous space, and the spinal arteries, I have already told you, make contact with those intervillous space and pour the maternal blood into the intervillous space. So now the intervillous space containing the maternal blood, and that maternal blood is in direct contact with the free villi, and the villi are the fetal structure. So the maternal blood in direct contact with the fetal structures. This is a membranous structure. That is why the human placenta is called the hemochorial type, because the villi develops from the chorion, and on the mother side it is not the physical structure like the membrane, rather it is the maternal blood present in the intervillous space. That is why it is called hemochorial type. Placental barrier composed of those structures through which the exchange takes place between the maternal blood and the fetal blood. And from the last slide, you see the intervillous space with floating free villi in that, and intervillous space filled with the maternal blood. So the maternal blood have to pass through the structures forming by the free villi, and that constitutes the placental barrier, and it is also called the placental membrane. So it is a semi-permeable membrane made up of placental tissue. Actually it is the chorionic villi that separates the fetal blood from the maternal blood, and it also limits the kind and the amount of the material to be exchanged. It does not allow all types of the material to get transported across that barrier. It has a selective nature, and it also limits the amount, does not allow free amount to be exchanged. I already told you it is a hemochorial type, and up to the 20th week it consists of four structures like the structure of the tertiary villi, and this is the anchoring villi containing also the fetal blood vessels, and these are the sideways branches of those anchoring villi which are called the free villi or the floating villi in the intervillous space. Suppose this is the intervillous space, and if we take the cross section of those villi, we will see that fetal blood is present in the capillaries present in the core of the tertiary villi. So, if any substance or the gas which has to be passed from that fetal blood to the maternal blood, it has to pass through the endothelium of the fetal blood vessel, then it has to pass through the extraembryonic mesoderm, then it has to pass through the cytotrophoblast layer, and ultimately the final layer, the syncytioblast. So it has to pass through all these four layers, then it will reach the maternal blood present in the intervillous space. So, and that constitutes the placental barrier. It is sufficient up to the 20th week that those four structures does not obstruct the amount of the material to be takes place. But after the demand increases, and that increased demand actually causing demand in the rapid transport of the exchanging material, and for that is accomplished by the disappearance of the cytotrophoblast layer, reduce connective tissue amount of the mesoderm, and also very important factor, that is migration of the fetal blood vessels from the core of the barrier, the tertiary villi actually is there, towards the peripheral part of the wall of the towards the peripheral part of the tertiary villi. So before the 20th week, the placental barrier consists of endothelium of the fetal blood vessel, mesoderm, cytotrophoblast, and cytotrophoblast. But after the 20th week, due to the increased demand, now the barrier is due to the migration of the fetal blood vessel towards the wall, causing displacement of the cytotrophoblast sideways and getting adjacent to the cytotrophoblast. Now any substance which has to pass from the fetal blood to the maternal blood or from the maternal blood to the fetal blood, it has to pass only through the cytotrophoblast layer and the wall of the fetal blood vessels, endothelium. So now the placental barrier is composed of the cytotrophoblast with brush border and with lot of microvilli, and the endothelium of the fetal blood vessels present in the core of villi. And this is the high magnification view of the placental barrier. This is the lumen of the fetal blood vessel, and that fetal blood vessel from the center of the tertiary villi have moved towards the wall, come adjacent to the cytotrophoblast, displacing the cytotrophoblast cell sideways. These greenish one are the cytotrophoblast cell, and this is the wall of the fetal blood vessel, endothelium. This is the basement membrane, and this is the cytotrophoblast layer. So only two structure between the fetal blood and the maternal blood present in the intervillous space. Placental circulation brings two circulatory systems, that is the maternal circulatory system and the fetal circulatory system, very close to each other, and only barrier between them is the placental barrier, because the fetal blood system is now composing of the blood vessels in the core of the tertiary villi, and the maternal blood system has reached up to from the spiral vessels up extending up to into the intervillous space. So that placental circulation is influenced by many of the maternal factors, especially the arterial blood pressure of the mother, the uterine contraction, higher blood pressure, which is called the hypertension, causes decreased blood flow, so uterine contraction causes increased blood flow, while the tobacco abuse also causes the decreased blood flow. And many of the medications and the hormones also affect the flow of the blood flow. And the flow of the blood flow to the placenta at term is 500 ml per minute, and of that 500 ml, 150 ml is anytime always present in the intervillous space, and it is replenished 3 to 4 times per minute. The circulation consists of two parts: the fetal placental circulation and the maternal placental circulation. First of all, the fetal placental circulation, it consists of two umbilical arteries coming from the embryo or the fetus through the umbilical cord, reaching up to the chorionic plate, where they continue as the chorionic arteries. As they are carrying the deoxygenated blood from the embryo or the fetus, so they are labeled as the blue one, and they go on dividing into smaller and smaller and smaller arteries, ultimately forming the arteriocapillaris venous system in the core of the free villi or the floating villi. And here the exchange of the material takes place between the blood present in the fetal capillaries and the maternal blood present in the intervillous space. Here the exchange takes place, then those from the arteriocapillary venous system, the small venules arises, join with one another to form the smaller veins join with one another to form the medium, and ultimately the larger chorionic vein, and that chorionic vein then continue as the umbilical veins, initially two in number, and later on one of them get degenerate and only remains the one umbilical vein, and as it is carrying the oxygenated blood, so it is labeled as the red one channel. Maternal placental circulation consists of 80 to 100 spiral arteries, and they make contact with the intervillous space through the perforations in the cytotophoblastic shell. This is the perforation in the cytotophoblastic shell, and these are the spiral arteries. They carry the oxygenated blood, and they pour that oxygenated blood into the intervillous space in a jet-like mountain fashion, and that blood reaching into the intervillous space, exchange takes place between the maternal blood and the fetal blood in the, this is the free or the tertiary villi, and in it also present the fetal blood vessels. So the exchange takes place, and maximum exchange takes place when that blood start to go back towards the residual veins, because at that time speed is less, flow of the blood has less speed, and so maximum exchange takes place. The mechanisms involved in the feto-maternal exchange is the passive transport, number 2, active transport, number 3, vesicular transport. In case of passive transport, it may be simple diffusion, osmosis, or the facilitated diffusion. Now the functions of the placenta briefly. It has a metabolism causing the synthesis of the glycogen, lipid, fatty acids, and the cholesterol, and also the very important function of the transport, during which the exchange of the gases, nutrients, and antibodies like the IgG, especially for the diphtheria and the measles, goes from the mother to the fetus. Then the placenta also has a endocrine function, producing the progesterone, estriol, HCG, and the somatotrophin. Immunological barrier is provided by the production of the components of the complements, especially during the first trimester. Then IgG, which are transmitted from the mother to the fetus, they provide protection against many infectious diseases to the fetus, and later on during the childhood up to the 2 years of the age. And excretion and another function by which the waste products and the carbon dioxide present in the fetal blood is transmitted from the fetal blood to the maternal blood and later on excreted by the mother urinary system. This concludes the lecture on the development of the placenta. Inshallah, in the next lecture we will continue as the anomalies of the placenta. So up till now, thank you so much, my dear students.